The TikTok DoorDash girl filmed a naked man passed out inside his own home and then posted it for nearly 30 million people to see, and then claimed that she was the victim. So, naturally, she got hit with 2 felony charges, and after months of failed plea negotiations, she has decided to fight this thing in front of a jury.
This is related. They just punished me for posting about my while door dashing. They just fired me. And the police are doing nothing. I lost my job. And that was my only way to make money to pay my bills.
Now, if you watched my last video on this case, you would know that we've been waiting forever for something to actually happen in this case. I literally flew to Oswego, New York to watch Olivia Henderson appear in court, only to just, get there, see everyone. I saw her there, and then everything got postponed. Or well, it wasn't technically postponed because it got moved up to county court. So essentially, I just had to pack up my bags, go home, and waited. Then she got indicted months later. And now, after even more months of court dates and motions, and I guess trying to work things out behind the scenes, we finally know what's going on because Olivia Henderson is preparing to go to trial.
The internet can't seem to get enough of the criminal case of Olivia Henderson, the now former DoorDash driver, on TikTok, claiming she was harassed by a customer, naked, asleep on his couch, when she delivered his order last year. But then police charged her because she recorded him and posted the video.
So she appeared in Oswego County Court again on July 31st, and Olivia and prosecutors have failed to reach a plea agreement, which is pretty big because remember, what she's accused of doing here back in October 2025, Olivia was delivering a DoorDash order when she arrived at a customer's house, and according to her, she found the door open. And inside was a dude passed out on his couch naked from the waist down. Police later said that he was drunk, unconscious, and incapacitated. So Olivia recorded him from the outside of the apartment and posted the footage to TikTok, where it absolutely exploded. And we're talking 30 million views. I mean, that is a lot of people seeing a passed out dude naked. That is not ideal, especially because obviously this was without his consent. Then she also claimed that the man had intentionally exposed himself to her and said that she had been assaulted. The woman who recorded a man without his permission while he was unconscious claimed that she was assaulted by said unconscious man. Something's not adding up here. Regardless, police investigated this and said they found no evidence that an assault actually occurred. So they said there was no physical contact, and their investigation concluded that the man had been unconscious on his couch because of alcohol. And last time I checked, it's not illegal to pass out drunk on your own sofa. It is very unfortunate that the dude managed to leave his door open though. Regardless though, the man wasn't charged, Olivia was. And she's now facing 2 felony charges, 2nd-degree unlawful surveillance and 1st-degree dissemination of an unlawful surveillance image. So this is the act of filming him and then the act of posting these videos on TikTok. But here's where this update gets really interesting because for months, I mean, one of my biggest questions was, how do you defend this? Because, she filmed it and she posted it. That's what she's being charged for. Well, I would think this would be case closed because there isn't too much mystery about it. And apparently, her own attorney also agrees with that part. So her public defender, David Smallwood, told News Channel 9, I think there's very little argument on what the evidence actually is, on what actually happened.
Her public defender challenging the prosecution's narrative she invaded her victim's privacy, an argument he's asking the judge to rule on.
Well, it is reasonable to expect for most people that you have privacy. If you do something to not have privacy, then you no longer have a reasonable expectation of privacy.
Emphasizing it was the customer who left the solid door open with just the glass door as the barrier to his home.
And that seems to be the argument they're preparing to take into court. They're not really fighting over whether Olivia filmed and posted the man. They're fighting over whether doing that actually meets the legal requirement of, these felony charges. And I guess a huge part of this argument comes down to 2 questions. First, how much privacy can you legally expect from inside your home when your front door is open? And number 2, was this man's front door even open in the first place? Because Olivia's attorney is now leaning hard into that first question. Smallwood says the homeowner's door was left wide open, exposing him to the public. Basically, the defense appears to be arguing, yes, this man was inside his own home, but the door was wide open, so anyone could see him from the street. So essentially, if his door was wide open and someone standing outside could see him, that he still have reasonable expectation that no one would see or record him. And I guess that distinction matters because the unlawful surveillance charge involves recording someone at a place and time which that person has reasonable expectation of privacy. This isn't just like Olivia's attorney standing up there and going, well, what she did wasn't that bad. No, he's attacking the actual part that the prosecutors have to prove. I can at least understand the legal question they're raising. Like, if you're standing naked in front of a giant open window facing a crowded sidewalk, do you really think no one's gonna see you? But I guess that brings us to the second question. Because before we spend 10 minutes debating on what an open door does to your right to privacy, I would like to know whether this door was actually open or not. Because Olivia is saying it wasn't. We had early reports saying that it was like open, but not fully open, and that she pushed it open. But the big problem with that is we haven't seen any proof that that was the case. All we really have is Olivia's side of the story, and obviously the video. So essentially, Olivia's maintained that she arrived and found that door open. And some of the more recent reporting describes it that way too. The Oswego County News reported in June that the police said that she arrived to the customer's apartment and found the door open. But if you remember the original controversy, people were going frame by frame through the footage and were questioning whether that was actually what happened. Because you had a whole bunch of claims online, at least early on in the story, where people said the door wasn't wide open and that Olivia maybe pushed it further open herself before filming inside. And that obviously would be a very different situation, because obviously there's a massive difference between I walked up to this house and there was a naked man visible right there, or she walked up, the door was kind of open but not fully open, she kind of saw a glimpse of the guy and then pushed open. I don't know. There was also some early reporting alleging there was ring camera footage from a neighbor. So again, this will be really interesting to see if that's true or not. And right now, based on the reporting we have, I don't think we should pretend that the question has been completely settled. What we do know is that police said Olivia recorded the man from outside the apartment. We know Olivia says the front door was open. And now we also know that her attorney is arguing that the door was wide open and that this man gave up some reasonable expectation of privacy. But whether the evidence actually backs that up, I guess we'll see that in court. Because obviously, if the entire defense leans on the dude's door being wide open, hopefully nothing comes out that disproves that. But regardless, despite all of that, all the headlines are now saying Olivia Henderson is officially going to trial. And there will be one big hurdle before we actually get there, because her attorney is trying to get these charges thrown out. Smallwood has asked the judge to review the grand jury record and determine whether prosecutors gave enough evidence to actually support an indictment. And remember, this grand jury is the reason Olivia ended up in the county court in the first place. So back in May, prosecutors presented their evidence privately to a grand jury, and the grand jury voted to indict Olivia on both felony charges. And no, that doesn't mean they found her guilty. It means the prosecutors have cleared the hurdle necessary to move forward with the case. But now, Olivia's defense is challenging that indictment. And based on Smallwood's comments, we have a much better idea of why. He isn't really disputing the basic sequence of events. Again, he basically just said there's really no arguing what the evidence is, which is also kind of a wild sentence to hear from a defense attorney in a case like this, because, you know, that's been the point from the beginning. Like, at the end of the day here, we're not trying to figure out who held the camera and who posted these videos. Even Olivia herself has publicly talked about posting it and why she believes she was justified in doing so. So the legal fight is over whether those actions actually satisfies the crimes prosecutors were charging her with, and if the judge agrees with the defense that they don't. So who knows? I mean, the charges could actually be dismissed at Olivia's next court date on September 9th. So technically, there is still a path that she might not get a trial at all. But if that challenge fails, we're going to court. Because the other huge update from this hearing is that Olivia and the prosecutors have failed to reach a plea agreement. And this is interesting to me because in my last video, I said a plea deal seemed like the most likely way this would all end. Apparently not, though. At least not so far. I mean, we don't know exactly what was offered during these negotiations, what Olivia would want to accept or not, or which side refused to budge. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what's going on, but I am surprised a plea deal didn't happen. And the trial can happen as early as October if all this goes through. Although there is actually another unrelated trial affecting the court's schedule. So if that gets in the way, the trial would actually happen in January, which I think I was in Oswego in January of 2020 of this year. So if we actually don't go to trial for a full year after the first time I appeared, that would be crazy. Regardless, it was very cold there in January, I can confirm. This would definitely be a very interesting case to be a juror on, though. Like, imagine the shock, not hearing about any of this, and you find out some woman did this on TikTok. TikTok, and you're sitting here like, there's no way this is real, but it is. This is definitely a top 10 jury duty trial. The one that takes the cake is absolutely the TikTok psychic one, though. I mean, that must have been a full-on trip for everyone who was a juror on that case. But regardless, this is just a horror story of how some dude passed out drunk in his apartment and woke up the next morning with 30 million people having seen his junk. That's not ideal. But there is also another part of this that I don't want to get lost in the legal arguments. Like, even if Olivia could see this man from where she was standing, seeing someone and recording their naked body, that's two different things. And recording it and then posting it for nearly 30 million people online to watch, that's a whole nother step as well. And that's ultimately what the prosecutors are accusing her of doing. And this is also why I just think this whole situation is so crazy, and the way it's unfolding is just crazy as well. Olivia originally posted the video because she wanted, I guess, to warn other female delivery drivers and expose what she believed this man had done to her. But instead, police investigated her allegations, said they found no evidence that an assault occurred, and arrested her instead. And now prosecutors eventually secured a felony indictment. Now again, the plea negotiations have apparently gone nowhere. Her attorney is trying to knock out the indictment, and unless the judge agrees to dismiss these charges on September 9th, Olivia Henderson could be sitting in front of an Oswego County jury as early as October. So this is how we went from a viral TikTok to an arrest and now to a grand jury indictment. Drop a like on this video if you want me to actually fly out there and cover it again. But until then, I shall get some sleep because I have a raging fever currently, and unfortunately in this job, you don't really get sick days. I would just get way too behind on videos. So thank you guys for the support. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.